Hey, Felicia, thank you for coming in. You've done a lot and you continue to do so much. So we're really excited about hearing about all of your insights and sharing it with our audience.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me. It's really a privilege to be here.
As I mentioned, Felicia, you got a really tremendous background. And my audience, by the way, is the top readers are founders, and then it's CEOs, then co-founders, board members, presidents, then professors. That's kind of like the order. So, but they're always curious. What are the inflection points in your life that made this wonderful person and career that you have? And it could be something that happened when you were really young, let's say 3 or 5 or 7 or something like that. Could something happen at school, maybe in your family? And so, but what are those, 2 or 3 magic moments that made you?
Yeah, sure. I think probably I can give a little bit background of myself because a lot of times that I live in Singapore right now, but many times then people will kind of like ask me like, where are you from? Because you got some of the accent, but I can't quite get it. And though I'm Chinese originally, I spent still most of my time in China, but I've been living in Singapore for 12 years. I started in France where I learned French. And so I have to say that I'm quite blessed and to have my family and who's always support of me because it's not like a typical Asian family. You do what your parents told you so, right? So they try, but they understand from young that I was not that kind of cookie cutter, that I knew exactly what I wanted at that time. So I that time I'm really interested in mass communications. So my dream that time was want to be a TV anchor. So I was like, you know what, I got huge influence and by yeah, Hollywood. I watch lots of like TV series and then I learned English and from secondary school. And I was like, yeah, I wanted to go to the US and to pursue my dream. I wanted to start communications. I want to become a news anchor. And so yeah, I just did the research and then see how can I take me from there and to get me out of China and to the US. So I did TOEFL, I did GRE, I applied for school by myself, and I got part of the scholarship. And then I bring back to my family. I was like, my parents were like, okay, I have some good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? So yeah, they were like a bit shocked. They did not know that time. They always knew that I was not the one who will stay. But they did not know that I already done all these kind of things. But they are very, very supportive of me. So they were like, okay, just let me know what do you need. But life always have a different plan. At the end of the day, I didn't get to go to the US just because that time, still now between China and the US, and there's always a bit tension, right? So things can be a bit tricky. But alternatively, and I ended up in France. So I really enjoy it. I love the culture because I would say this. I was surrounded with all the different nationalities, and then has all these cultures, and you have the privilege and to travel. I would say a lot of times, studying overseas is not about what you study, right? It's really about the experience. It's eye-opening, and it's about how you get to mix and understand the other culture, the other people. I would say, thinking from now, I would say, yeah, that is the turning point. Because a lot of time, like people say, wow, you really understand the people. I think that is because I make efforts and I've been there. So I know and how to connect with people and from different backgrounds and different, like we all have a different story, right? So yeah, so that is me. A lot of time I just say, maybe you just ask me where I am local. That is an easy question to answer, right?
So I didn't quite get that. Did you say France? You did France? I know you're in Singapore, but
Yeah,
before that was France, right?
France, yes, yeah, in Nice. I
Okay,
studied in a business school, yes.
okay. So let me just capture what you're saying. You're saying in your family you were a little bit different, and you wanted to be a TV anchor. You were interested in mass communications, And I know, I mean, I'm Asian too, and often Asian families, they want you to be like a doctor or something like that,
Yeah.
or a lawyer or whatever. And yet you had this sort of interest in mass communications and so on. And then you studied abroad, and you received financial support through scholarships and things like that. And by studying abroad, it exposed you to all of this international flavor, and that continued your excitement about other cultures and communications and so on. And you ended up with a master's degree in business from the Edie Heck School, which is a well-known school in France. And so how did you transition from that into you ended up, working with Meta and so on? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I would say that I'm that kind of person who always want to have a challenge. I think that really excites me, that push me and to do things, try new things and do different things. So after study that, again, if you ask me like why did I choose to stay in France, and I can't really answer that, but I went back into to China. I spent 1 year in one of the consulting firm and realized that wasn't for me. It was a little bit too routine-ish. And then I jumped to the creative agency. And so that was really exciting because you get to work with different clients and from different vertical industries. And then so that was really, really fun. But in 2011, that time, my fiance and me, and we got the opportunity and to move to Singapore. And that is where I actually changed from the agency side into in-house marketing. And also I discovered my love for anything digital, like technology. So I understand that time, I was like, well, I need to upskill myself, especially on digital marketing, because my background came from business side, and then I have agency background. Agency, we always think as an extension of the marketing team, but it's not quite there in terms like you do in-house marketing. So I upskill myself on digital marketing. I got really good opportunity to join iTech startup that time. And then as a second one, but really oversee all the digital marketing automation. So that was the fun part. It really opened up my journey to iTech, and then eventually led me to, we call it big tech, such as Twitter, Meta, and now here I am at ABI.
Again, that's just a fascinating journey. So what I'm hearing is you graduate from school, you've got this really interesting communications, so you end up in a consulting firm, and you thought, no, that's not for me. And then you work with a creative agency because you're very creative and you like thinking up new ideas and so on. And then you end up in Singapore and working with as a marketing director for an ad tech startup, IOTA, and integrated ad science, and building their regional marketing function. So you got more into this sort of practical creative side, right? And digital, because you said digital is really exciting. And then you ended up being head of marketing at APAC for Mopad, a mobile advertising business unit of Twitter, which is now X. And then you ended up being the head of APAC marketing for Facebook gaming and the audience network of Meta. So that's a pretty good sort of track record, right? Twitter to Meta, and then to where you are today. So how did you end up working as chief marketing officer for this amazing data innovation group?
Yeah, I have to say this is a really good blend between startup and then big tech. So I have to be honest, like so that time I was at Meta and just over a year, I thought, wow, that is my dream job. But things for tech space last year was quite violent. So lots of people got impacted. So I'm one of them. So I've been through some tough time, and I've been always very open with it. But I think that's just my personality. I always look at the bright side. I always say there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So as we always go through some highs and lows in the life, we just need to be very resilient, and we need to bounce back ASAP, because that is your life, right? You get to control your life. So I actually got to talk to the head of talent at ADI, Aboitiz Data Innovation. So he really explained to me the vision of the company and what we do. So that time actually is also kind of like the turning point of I'm reflecting like my journey in the iTech space and tech space. So because I'm quite a purpose driven, so I would say I have done great. You know, I have my track record in tech space. I've been always in this space, but there's something missing. I actually want to connect what I do with a purpose. So that is a purpose for good and purpose for a community. So when I came across like ADI, actually it's like use data and AI, but it's really about creating a better place, a better world, and for not only the businesses, but also the community. So that is something is quite a new arena for me. So for example, like smart cities and then like power space, but that's really kind of like aligned with my career goal. I was like, this is how I want to apply my knowledge, apply my passion for technology, but use it for good.
I see. So I can see this as sort of career path, right? Or arc. You're in this family, it's kind of traditional, and yet you're the different flower.
Yeah.
Because you like the sunshine and you like creating excitement and beauty and creativity and you like the business side as well. So you end up with this business degree from a great school in France, and you like the multicultural aspect, and then you work for a tech startup, so you get into this sort of digital side and the creative side, and then mobile advertising business, and then Twitter and Meta or Facebook, which exposes you to more of this sort of digital marketing and so on, and then you get this opportunity where, hey, there's some social good that you can do with some, purposeful leadership and purposeful innovation, capital and business, and you're thinking, and you deal with community. And you're thinking, wow, that's kind of marries everything you've done so far,
Yeah.
and creates a perfect situation for you. So that must be like a dream job. And you're chief marketing officer. You're like the top person.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, totally, Steve. I think I really, really spot on. And also, I reflect myself, and especially I have to say, in Asia, as you probably noticed, like from my iTech space and even the tech, I have always been the first marketing hire and for the region. So I'm the one who's kind of like bridge the East and the West, and then provide the market context and the nuances, and but also the culture perspective. Because a lot of time there is kind of like misunderstanding between the global headquarters and the regional markets, is that the global people will say, well, they never share any feedback. Every time they just like, they don't talk. And then the APAC is like, they never listen to us, and they never give us opportunity and to tell them what we need. So I think I'm the one, just because I've been both sides, and I probably the most, not outspoken, but kind of extrovert Asian. So I can apply my strength and then to bridge the gap. But a lot of times, actually, funny thing is that like 2 weeks ago, I did one of the mentorship works. So I'm hired with a mentor, and one similarity is both of us are from non-English as the native language countries. So that is some of the thing, like maybe to you it's quite straightforward, but to us as in Asia, in APAC, a lot of times, yeah, we are using English, but English is not our first language. A lot of time, like you still have a little bit of the taken back when you talk to the native speakers. They were like, wow, there's still lack of some vocabulary, there is some of the confidence. I think that especially from like female perspective, I think that is another kind of like step back. So I have been involved in many of like empowering women and then really champion for inclusion and diversity, and like from Twitter into Meta and until now. I think as you mentioned that, yeah, this is like chief marketing officer role. So before I would never ever dream it because I'm like, wow, it's a CMO role. But when I talked to David, David Hadun, our CEO, I thought, yeah, I think you can. And we're like, I reflect, I pause, and we're like, yeah, I think I'm ready. Because before I was like, no, I'm always like behind the scene a little bit. I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready. I'm just marketing director. I'm head of marketing. But that time when I talked to him, I'm like, yeah, why not? I got all the experience, and I think I'm now in the perfect spot, and I should just stand up, and I need to take it. I need to push myself a bit. I think that is where we have kind of like, I need a pull, and yeah, and then David just pushed me into this position. So it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, but you also indicated that you are. So there's this kind of stereotype, right? There's stereotypes that women are not as outspoken, and there's stereotypes that Asian women are even more not as outspoken. And yet you have this personality that shines, and you like communication, you like interaction. And then you have this marvelous background where you tried and worked in different areas, and you work with community, and then you get to test your boundaries, right? So it's always good to work at the boundary of your growth, where you're doing reach, right? And when you reach at the boundaries of your growth, then you continue to grow. So, and it takes advantage of the fact that you do like communicating, you do like, and you even said you can be outspoken, right? So, and then that produces a model for others, right? Because they can see you, and especially because you're still based in the Asia Pac region, so they'll say,
yeah,
what a remarkable woman. I want to be that person, right? So
yeah, I would say, yeah, really, I want to kind of like let the other ladies, young ladies know that you can, because sometimes I get compliment, people like, I want to be like you when I'm your age. I was like, okay, I take it as a compliment.
yeah, because you embraced the stretch goal too, and David encouraged you, but you embraced it, and now you're feeling the might and the capabilities of having a position of chief marketing officer, and you get to take advantage of your B2B marketing experience across media agencies and ad tech startups and big tech, and then you get to do social community empowerment, right? So talk about some of the community programs that you have, and then weave that into some of the innovation programs you have. And how do you, as Chief Marketing Officer, how do you wish to shape those with ADI?
Yeah, totally. Like as you know that ADI and we are really like committed into innovation and sustainability and excellence. So when we talk a little bit about sustainability, and people are naturally thinking, oh, that is like for the climate and then for some other thing. But there's also the social perspective of it, right? So some of the viewer may not know that Aboitiz Data Innovation, that our mothership is rooted in the Philippines, Aboitiz, the one of the biggest conglomerates. And we even were based in Singapore, but we actually work a lot closely with the mothership and also support the community and back in the Philippines. And so that is one of the thing that in Philippines, a lot of the women community, and just because they are kind of like left behind, they don't have the right skill set, or they may live in some of the remote areas. So they don't really have the means and to make a meaningful living. But they still have their kids and family and to support, because a lot of time the husband, they may leave and for some bigger cities and to work, right? Like the women, they are taking care of the kids. And so we actually work very closely with one of the communities, Connected Women. So they are wonderful initiative. So they actually found all the founders are female, very strong female, really, really great energy, love them. So they see this gap and they wanted to do something. So they actually offer that platform. They also say like upskill the women. And then in the meantime, and they explore the collaboration across the corporation, like all companies such as ADI. Like as simple, like give you example. We at ADI, we support one of the vertical is a power space, right? When we talk about the power line and in some rural areas, and you can see, they have the pillars, you have all the electricity line, and a lot of times it's quite cost consuming and time consuming to send the professionals and to go down to check if that is stable, is there any damage or not. But because we work with this community and they have women in every single town, right? Single villages and everywhere. So what we do is that we partner with them and then we train them up, and so they know what kind of sign they need to look out. And then everyone has a smartphone. So they can simply snap a photos and share with us, and we do like data tracing, and then we look at the images and then we can determine and use our kind of AI powered technology and to decide like which part actually has the potential of like risk, and then we probably need to get it fixed. And in that case, like actually there's a lot of cost has been saved, and then we increase the efficiency. But also in the meantime, and all these wonderful women, and they earn quite a lot amount and compared to what they do for a living, right? So that's just like how we actually, as a business, and we save costs, but in the meantime, we actually empower the community to take advantage of working with us. And so a lot of time we always link back, because now there is this kind of myth that everyone's out, oh, AI is taking over all the jobs and a human will lose job into the AI, but actually it's not. It's in the contrary. Like it's really about how you deploy it, how you apply it to real life. And but in the meantime, like human can actually utilize AI and to have a better life and to have a better job.
So that's really fascinating. So what I'm hearing is you've created an upskilling program for rural communities, actually any community throughout the Philippines, where women who had traditional roles can upskill and be involved with high tech. And because you need sentinels to deploy, to look at areas such as your power lines or power utility infrastructure to see where there could be problems. You've trained them to identify potential problems. They can take a mobile photo of it. That could be uploaded to a platform where then AI can say, you know what, that could be something that requires some attention, and we can then send people out. So it's a perfect marrying of upskilling, empowerment throughout the rural communities of women, giving them other opportunities for financial inclusion as well. And as you mentioned, they make more this way than they would have before. And then thereby it gives their whole family more access to more services and so on. And you still have human in the loop. The humans are an essential part of marrying and being augmented with and working as co-pilots with the tech that you've developed as well, and the artificial intelligence that you develop. That's a wonderful story. So then do you hold some kind of annual event where you can coalesce all of these communities and bring women in and others to say, you know, these are the things we're doing with innovation and AI? Do you have a conference, for example?
Yes, yeah. So that is thanks for asking. And we actually had a AI Summit 2023 early this year in Marriott, Manila. So that was the first ever AI Summit in the Philippines. So it's kind of we have the vision and we have the dream. We were like, actually, we think there's a market and people are like craving for all this kind of knowledge and insights. And then because AI was like a buzzword, right? Since like end of last year and until through this year, everyone is asking about AI, how do we do things? And then when they got to know, they said, oh, wow, you know, Aboitiz, you have a data science AI arm and to support you different businesses, and how do you do it? So that is we see the needs and to just go out and then tell people, and also to shape the misconception, because a lot of time people will say, well, Philippines, like, you know, it's not like Japan or that people like come out, yeah, Japan or China have something new, or US, and then, but in the Philippines, actually, there is wonderful like test market and across different markets, just because we look at Philippines and you compare to some other Southeast Asian markets, and there are so many similarity. I believe that you spoke with our COO Luis about the power space, and it's basically Philippines has the most similar problem that all the Southeast country will face, but it's a perfect place and to test new things, and then just optimize it, and then we can apply into other markets. So back to the AI Summit early this year, and so we actually had lots of plenary sessions, and we have over 70 speakers and coming under one roof over 2 days. And yeah, though we got like CNN was there to interview us, and then all the local Filipino press over there. So everyone was really kind of like, oh, this is AI exist here. Like I can see there's so much happening. So I actually that time, like people also asking was like, oh, so are you guys coming back next year? And the answer is yes. So we are doing another AI Summit 2024 next year. And so it's a quick call for speakers. Yeah, we can discuss that, Stephen, based on your background. It will be wonderful to talk a little bit of the speaking opportunities, and also really kind of showcasing the real world impact that AI and data science can do, and for the different industries. So that is something that we are very blessed, and to have all these supporters and from the business sides, and but also that we collaborated very closely with all the different academic agencies, government agencies, and then also communities. So that is something that we also want to call for more collaboration and from different communities, and for next year. That is one of our initiatives. Is really kind of like how we can give back to the local community and how we can support them, and to make sure no one is left behind.
Now you're the chief marketing officer, so you have to figure out from a strategic standpoint the partners you want to bring in, the communities, the outreach, the media, the speakers. You do have a relationship with Mila, the entity out of Montreal, which is really famous, created and founded by Joshua Benjo, who's a Turing Award winner. So one of the pioneers of machine learning. So you're the only company and group that has that relationship with the Mila group, which is really just amazing. So what maybe you can't share it. Can you share kind of your marketing strategy, because you're the chief marketing officer?
Yeah, sure, totally. As you mentioned, yes, and now we have set the dates and the venue, and now we are really looking into identify again that we want the summit to be for the nation. And so it's not just for one company, it's not just benefiting to ADI. Actually, it's not. It's really about we provide the platform, and it as kind of like a national celebration of using AI and to empower the businesses and to drive that kind of solution for them to have the sustainable growth and within their ecosystem. But most importantly, that we will outreach and to the different partners, communities, and then to create this like a much wider ecosystem to make sure everyone play part of it and then contribute to the national success. Yes, so we have a plan already undergoing, and to outreach into the different industry bodies and also communities. And we also have mechanism that we want to really support the cause of some charities, that we will give people the option and to choose which cause they want to support. And then we also start working on the speaker lineup, because that is quite important. And now we are mid-November. The event is early May next year. So we have a little bit luxury of time and to really kind of think which speakers that we want to invite. And also that, again, even though it is AI Summit for the Philippines, but we also want to create that kind of it's a regional event and with the insights from the global speakers. So that is some of the combination. So it's like we support the domestic market, but we also want to have the global and the regional experts and to come to the Philippines and to contribute and share.
So is the summit 2 or 3 days again? It's 2 days, or is it 3 days? Or
2 days. 2 days, yes.
So what I'm hearing then is you want to create a program that marries government and business and community and also granting people to help foundations and others that are working in the community, so you can provide some support for them as well. You want it's a regional event, but you also have a global flavor, so you're inviting the world to come. You have media partnerships. No doubt you have big corporate partnerships, both local and maybe international, like maybe like a Microsoft or a Google or IBM or NVIDIA and so on, being represented as well. And you've got a local and regional and then also global speaker outreach. And it's not about one company, it's about empowering the entire country and the people of that country. And also to act as a model and template and outreach to the world, because the lessons that you're sharing there would be valuable to all of the other regions of the world as well. So you're creating this global community through this event, and it's based on tech for good, right? Or is it, what's the kind of theme of the program? It's AI for good, AI for, is there a name for your conference?
In 2023, early this year, and so our theme, it is redefine the future with AI. So that is about like, okay, AI is coming and everyone's talking about, but how do you redefine the future with it? But for next year, and we really want to focus on the action. And just because, again, everyone's talking about AI, and you probably will see all the companies, they start have AI powered platform, AI powered tool, even though you try it, probably quite similar to what they offer in the past, but everyone has used the buzzword, right? AI. So we want to focus on the action. So we want the tentatively, and the event will be AI accelerate. So really kind of like how we can accelerate from insights and to impact and to innovate. So we want to focus on some of the real world case studies and use cases across the industry. As I always say, that we want to make sure that even that is matching to what we do, like our expertise labor, like financial services and banking, and we have like power, like that includes utilities, and also we have another like smart cities. So that is much wider. So infrastructure and land and food, everything will go under smart cities. And also, as you mentioned, that quite importantly, and there's also academic and also government agency, because they are the policy maker, right? And because now there's a lot of conversation about AI regulation and how we can make sure that we use responsible AI, and how we can set that regulation in place, and then to before things are too late, right? So all these things will be quite carefully considered, and when we work on the agenda program, just make sure we have very well balanced. But in the meantime, because it's a 2 days event, in a quite big venue, so we have a different filter. So there is someone only interested in banking and financial services, so they can go to that filter and to sit in with more kind of like financial services related topic. But the others also have other options, and so we will make sure that that is very well thought and balanced agenda.
Yeah, I mean, it's really quite fascinating what you're trying to do, and it's the acceleration of AI and how it can be practically used, right? So, and because the narrative has changed, it's no longer discovery. Now let's use it, right? And use cases for using it, and also because you have government involved, then you get to start really getting that dialogue on the regulatory aspects and the governance and keeping it safe and responsible AI as part of the conversation. And you have these different sessions, so you can address people who are interested in the healthcare segment or the financial services segment, as you mentioned, banking. And of course, smart cities is a very broad term that encompasses many, many subsets of which you can all of which are going to be empowered through your marvelous summit. And you would have a hand in that because you're the chief marketing officer. Now, going beyond that summit and your outreach program to the communities, what are some of the other areas that are part of your roadmap as the chief marketing officer setting the marketing strategy for this ADI company?
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's a really great question. I'd say that I joined the team early this year. So it's really about taking a fresh look at our branding and identify what are the key priorities. And then immediately we have this AI Summit 2023 in May. But it's really kind of like a forward-looking. And as we had the ambition that ADI, we want to become the leader in data science AI in the APAC region to start with, right? So we are expanding into some other markets. For example, we just opened up an office in India last month. And then we are also looking around in the ASEAN markets. That includes, not by the order, but that may include Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. And just because I said there is so much similarity in terms of what we tested and proved in the Philippines that can be replicated and like in some other markets. So that is where you're looking at kind of like a regional expansion. But in the meantime, that we have a wonderful relationship, as you mentioned, that Mila, and that is based in Quebec in Canada. So we all have some of this international relationship with some of the really esteemed organizations and how we can leverage that. Because at the end of the day, we look at the product, the solutions, it's not just bound by geography, right? If that works in a certain space, for example, in power, that will work and beyond just Southeast Asia, beyond APAC, that may work in some other power plant in any part of the world. So that is like how, as marketing team, and how we can actually support the business growth plan, and then to work very closely with all our COOs, and then to identify the expansion, and then like marketing will be able to become one of the revenue-driven supporting team.
Yeah, and you created this sort of center of excellence in your region, and you're expanding to other countries in your region. And as you mentioned, you're making investments in India as well. But because of all of the sharing and learning, and because you're executing on this plan, then the world can benefit. And so you're inviting the world to say, "Hey, partner with us, learn, let's walk together, learn together." And let's make a better world using innovation and technology and data science and so on. And that's a great vision, and you're executing on it. And you've got the roadmap, and as you mentioned, you're establishing priorities because you could take on everything, and you got to make sure that you ticket it on in a way that makes sense for where you want to be in 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years, and so on. So that's a great vision. Now is there any other aspects of from a marketing standpoint that you're trying to address?
Yeah, I would say the other part is really about how we can continue and to tell ADI a brand story. Just because again, like every time most of the people that know us are like, oh, Aboitiz. If they have business in the Philippines or they work with Aboitiz. And so as ADI, a standalone, that we still have a long way to go. And we have done some really solid work this year, and by winning lots of awards in the regional markets. But the most important is like how we can continue keep the momentum and to carry that to next year, and to really kind of like let people know and who is ADI, what we do, and then how they can work with us. I think that is something that we are actively working and then adjusting and tweaking our message, and then make sure that people and from different channels they can reach us, they know about us. Just because again, as you said, we always consider ourselves as a startup and within the conglomerate, and we are quite young, only 2 years old startup, right? And and we are just like, just start learning and how to work. But that is the ambition that we want to move faster as a team. As I always say, we can move faster, but as a team and as really strong, high performing team. So that is some of the other things from like communications front that we will work across like more markets and more kind of like our media friends, and then to push the ADI story and much far out and beyond just Southeast Asia and to APAC and then beyond that.
That's a marvelous vision and roadmap, and I can see you definitely executing on this successfully. Now, for you personally, you've been on this journey. Where do you want to see yourself personally by 2025 and 2030?
Wow, 2025 is not far. 2030. I have to say I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a like a wonderful opportunity, and for me, as I quite transparent, it's my first C-level job, and like not yet a year yet, but I'm really enjoying it, and I think I'm kind of like getting my foot on the ground, and it's not how the things work. But in the meantime, as the only female representative of my executive team, I think there are a lot of things, and for me, and maybe even next year, that I'm really championing for diversity, inclusion, and like equity. So that is some of the thing I really wanted to do, like mentorship. I think that will tremendously benefit our employees. Just because we have very remote workforce, like we need to have some of the system in place and to support them to grow. So I'm really eager and to play more part in that front. So I'm enjoying it actually. I think that it's my goal. I would say maybe by 2025. Yeah, so that is 2 years from now. I really want to build a much bigger regional marketing team. So to make sure that we are well represented, and we, most importantly, and contributing to the bottom line of the business and in the APAC market. And then by 2030, I hope that ADI will become a name that, whenever you talk to some other people in the other market, like North America or even Latin America, or maybe Middle East, and people are like, oh yeah, ADI, I heard about them. I know what they do. And so that will be a wonderful dream coming true.
Yeah, and then Time has their Global 100 Impact Awards and the Global Time 100, and then you make into Felicia makes into the Time 100.
Wow.
And
I aim to dream big, but not that big. Maybe I need to push myself a bit more.
Yeah, you have to embrace the universe, right?
True. Yeah, I will take note of that. Thank you, Stephen. That's great.
Yeah, in fact, I know the gentleman who is embedded in those awards. So it's interesting, and I can see this fitting. What you're doing fits those kinds of things they look for, and what you're doing would fit as well. And then maybe 2030, you're a CEO of some sort as well, right? So and then you become a chairperson. There's an infinite, unlimited path, right? All unbounded, only limited by your will and your imagination, right? So just you fly, and you can fly to whatever whatever sort of destinations you want to go to. So I can see your personal journey as well. I can see how this fits into EDI and where EDI is trying to position, and what you're doing, and it's a very grand strategy, right? Because it's multidimensional, multi-layered. You indicated it's very much about inclusion, diversity as well, and equity. And those are all of the things that make for a better world. So that's for the benefit of all, and it's the benefit of Earth ecosystems, and ultimately you're going to leave a footprint and a mark that makes the world progress in a positive way. Okay, we're down to maybe our last one or two questions. As you reflect upon all the things that we talked about, is there something we didn't talk about that you wish we had? So what would that be? What did I miss?
Actually, yeah, I really I mentioned that a couple of times. I think we touched based on that. It's really about the mentorship. I like if I could tell a younger myself something is that at my younger age, understand the importance of having a mentor. I that time I think when we were young, everyone think that you knew everything, right? So you were like, yeah, I'm good. I'm carrying out in my path. I don't need anyone. I don't need to get any advice. I know exactly what I'm doing, and a little bit arrogant stuff in that way. But when I reflect back and I realize and mentor, and also I have the luxury of having a female mentor and in my life in in different stages that really push me, that really help me and support me, right? Like I still reflecting one of my mentors, and actually she was my CMO that time in one of the tech startup, and then we have a similar background. She was based in New York that time, but she's not American, right? Like we speak English with kind of the accent. So, but she's like, you know what, like Felicia, like I can see you. I can see one day you become CMO. I was like, no, I will not. I'm happy with my marketing director role. But she's like, don't let people push you. Like, don't let people push you to sideline. Like when I came to New York 20 years ago, and some people they don't want to talk to me just because I came overseas and I don't have the background they're looking for. But look at me here now. I'm the CMO of the tech space, and I have exited quite a few startups. And don't stay on the sideline. When people push you, you push back. You speak up. You take your spot. So I think that really motivated me. It was like, wow, I need to have this out because a lot of time, as you said, Asian stereotype, and with women sometimes a bit too assertive, and people are like, oh, she's bossy, right? And she's too aggressive. But sometimes you're like, you know what, they just me. I just be myself. And I'm proud of who I am. That you need to respect, and that is me, and that is how we work together. And so I would say, yeah, if a younger myself, and I would probably just say, yeah, it's really important to have a mentor. And then because a lot of times that you may not see that now, and but that person will give you that perspective and help you to grow, and maybe help you to avoid some of some of the mistakes or some of the journeys that you shouldn't take. That is why I'm really eager to pass my advice and then to get involved in all different mentorship program, because I think that is really, really helpful, especially for the younger women and in this space, and all who wants to grow much further. Yeah, that is all.
Well, that's fascinating. So mentorship had an impact in your life. It empowered you. It gave you courage as well. It gave you paths to progress and to realize that when opportunity knocks, you should take it, right?
Yeah.
And now you're trying to pass that on. So are you now programmatically trying to create a program where maybe people in your company can donate time to mentor? So when I say programmatic, like a community people who volunteer to mentor, and then they do formally take on mentors, and so then it's sustainable, right? Because it's not an ad hoc program, but it's part of your company. Are you thinking of doing that, or is that happening now, or?
Yeah, I already proposed it to my CEO, but that is something that early next year I will take a really like focus time and to craft it out. It's like I've been part of the program before, and I do my time at Meta and outside work. I'm also part of the community that is kind of like women empowering women community, right? It's not founded to any of the companies, but that is something that to me, I think it doesn't take you too much time, but the impact you make is tremendous. you can literally change someone's life and change someone's thinking, that they will kind of like flourish and or thrive in their career path, right? So yes, back to the question, yeah, we have not have the place in the system yet, but that is something I'm aiming to do, and like starting from next year, that how I can create something for ADI or maybe wider and within the Aboitiz group.
Yeah, and then intervention in a positive way can have an epigenetic effect, right? Where it affects gene expression, and that could then last for 2 generations, right?
Yep.
And so, as you mentioned, mentorship could influence not only that person, but that person's children and their children's children. It can pass for 2 generations. One positive small spotlight of mentorship can have this lasting generational effect because of this epigenetic effect. So, and then if you play it forward where each person then mentors 2 others, then you can get this kind of exponential growth of the mentorship program, right? So, and then you could collaborate with schools because they have some kind of an infrastructure in place, or you have this community women program. So you have already an infrastructure somewhat in place, and it's just a matter of adding this layer on top of it.
Yeah.
So you've got all the pieces in place and you're energized to do it. So it'll be interesting to do an interview in a year's time, and I'll ask you the question, how is that mentorship going?
Yes. Yeah, I'm confident I will have a lot more to share.
Okay, we have time for one more question. And this question is, what advice would you like to give to the audience?
As I always say, look at the bright side and take up the challenge, and do not say no to opportunity. If opportunity presents it and you are ready, even though you may not know, but you are ready to take it.
Yeah, that's great advice, because sometimes people are afraid of opportunities because it's a stretch goal. It takes them out of their comfort zone, but that's when you grow and you learn, right? So, and by doing so, more opportunities arise. So that's great advice, and I know that I've been doing this for many years, and I think that's a common element of the top people is this stretch. Always stretch, right? So take opportunity.
Yeah, push your limit. Exactly. Just push your limit, because otherwise you will just stay in your comfort zone, you shrink. So will push out and your comfort zone will become bigger and bigger. That is my philosophy. That is where I am today. And I have my power pose. I'm ready.
That's right. And that's why time impact 100, right?
I take note of that, Stephen. In a year time, I will report back.
So Felicia, I really enjoyed talking with you today. You're an amazing person, and you're on an amazing journey, and it's just also magnificent and outstanding. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. Again, it's a privilege to be invited to the interview. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.